Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out Jack in the Box. Your son found an imaginary friend, but you have no idea what terrors you are about to witness. Oh. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out Jack in the Box. Your son found an imaginary friend, but you have no idea what terrors are you about to witness. Short 3D horror game which takes about 5 minutes to complete, based on the creepypasta character, Laughing Jack. Maybe we'll read Laughing Jack after, since it's so short. My son James keeps talking about this clown named Laughing Jack. I believe it's just an imaginary friend, like any parent would. But ever since that day when he first talked about him, strange things started happening. And I'm having nightmares, which look very realistic. But everything is black and white. Ooh, this looks cool. We're in a amusement park of some kind, it seems. I will say the head bob and the way that you lean when you're moving in different directions at the same time it makes me feel very sick. Not necessarily a bad thing if that's what you're going for, but it makes me not want to move very much, to be honest. Visually, though, this is very striking. I really like it. The black and white is different from a lot of what I play. Hello. Connect. Handle is missing. Press escape to view your current objective. Does it even have a door? Can we go on these? No. Oh, that is upsetting. Am I supposed to get to the other tent? Will it have a handle? Yeah, just find the missing handle for the music box. Oh, I have a run button. That's great. Oh my gosh. When I was a child, there were never any that had seats. I guess those aren't really seats, are they? Can it be a seat if you... I guess maybe like you're just supposed to sit on half of one. Anyway, they were just big open triangles of space. I slid off a few, and I also ate so much freaking dirt trying to push friends and some of my younger family members, like my cousins and stuff. Actually, I scraped my entire forearm once because this one was super rusty. I had to get a shot because of the rust. I pushed it really hard and was like, well, half pushing, half pulling to try and build up momentum. And I tripped and my forearm like hit really hard against it and it was very rusty wherever I hit it. I don't have scars anymore. It was a long time ago, but I did for a while. Am I okay? What is happening? Oh my gosh, I found it. That is so hard to see. What's in here now? Hi, I just see two eyeballs in the dark. Hi, bud. A little silly. Oh, there's more. Is there one in here? No, but you're here. Hi. Well, I'm gonna go inside now. Oh, there's more. Well, that's kind of cute. That handle was so hard to see. Whoa, there's lots of you now. Hi, everybody. Wind. Okay, I'll wind. Laughing Jack. That little laughing face is pretty cute. Is your nose like a corkscrew or something? Does this mean my child played with a spooky little Jack-in-the-Box? It's big. Because we're dreaming right now, right? Oh, a child's toy? Isn't that my son's toy car? Oh, hi. Sorry, I was too busy thinking about the implications that were being made with the son and the toy here. My baby! Leave my baby alone! I have no attachment to this child because I just learned that I have one. It's like, you know, the premise of the game. Oh shit! Okay, maybe I'm a little more attached now that I'm in my own home and not dreaming. I need to grab a knife! My baby! Where the hell is my kitchen? A knife from where? Oh my god, what a weird place for a kitchen, but alright. Whoever you are, you're not taking my son away from me! I don't know, I feel like we might be too late. Watch us stab our kid. Poor kid. Baby, where are you? There's blood everywhere. Oh, why are we winding it? That's so silly. But okay, alright. Watch it be our child's head in the box. Oh, it's empty. That's fun. Oh my gosh, you dummy. Don't go looking into spooky things like that. Oh, could it be behind me? Oh my god. That's a cool looking model. This time, it wasn't just a nightmare anymore. Jack-in-the-Box. Made using Unity 3D. I wonder if this is a model that... Oh. Other models, blah, blah, blah. So was this developed by just one person, or was it a bunch of people who came together to do stuff? The Smiling Jack model looks really good. The map design looks really good. I think the sound design is pretty good too. I personally just don't care for games when there's not very much story. Typically, the scares have to be really good. I have to feel really immersed. I kind of felt like I was just wandering around wasting my time trying to pick up a handle. I found it to be really hard to find, but that's just because, I don't know, I would have made it like shine golden or something. Have something more than just a little bit of white dots happening, but really not a huge deal. It just took me an additional 5 minutes to find it because I was looking everywhere thinking that it would be a bit more clever than just on a bench, which is my fault, really. That is really my fault. The scares when you're in the diamond walled area, not really scary. I feel like if you're working off of a creepypasta, there should be enough material here for you to do something more than just this. But maybe not. I think we will go read the story. Hi, I'm going to read the creepypasta. There's some pretty visceral descriptions of child murder coming up, and if you don't want to listen to that, that's totally understandable. Maybe click off now. I'm just going to talk about the game at the end, but to sum it up, I like some things about the game. I like some things about the creepypasta more. I think there could have been more detail. If you're okay with listening to the creepypasta, then continue ahead, and then you can get my full feelings of the game at the end, but that was a pretty summed up version. Alright, we're gonna have this ominous music playing in the background while I read this. It was a nice summer day. My 5-year-old son James was playing outside in the backyard of our suburban home. James has always been a quiet boy. He plays by himself mostly. He never had many friends, but he was always with a wild imagination. I was in the kitchen feeding our dog Fido when I heard what sounded like James talking to someone in the backyard. I'm not sure who it was he could be talking to. Could he have finally made a friend? Being a single mom, it's hard for me to always keep an eye on my son, so I decided to go out and check on him. When I went into the backyard, I was a bit confused because James was the only person back there. Was he talking to himself? I could have sworn I heard another voice. "James, it's time to come inside," I called out to him. He came inside and sat down at the kitchen table. It was just about lunchtime, so I decided to make him a turkey sandwich. "James, who are you talking to out there?" I asked. James looked up for a moment. "I was playing with my new friend," he said, smiling. I poured him some milk and continued to pry, as any good mother would. "Does your friend have a name? Why didn't you ask him to have lunch with us?" I asked. James stared at me for a moment before replying, "His name is Smiling Jack." I was a bit taken back by what he said. "Oh, that's a strange name. What does your friend look like?" I asked, a bit confused. "He's a clown. He has long hair and big swirly cone nose. He's got long arms and baggy pants with stripy socks, and he always smiles." I realized my son was talking about an imaginary friend. I suppose it is normal for kids his age to have imaginary friends, especially when he has no real kids to play with. It's probably just a phase. The rest of the day went by, per usual, and it was starting to get late, so I put James to bed. I tucked him in, gave him a little kiss, and made sure to turn on his nightlight before I closed the door. I was pretty tired myself, so I decided to go to bed not long after. I had an awful nightmare. It was dark. I was in some kind of run-down amusement park. I was scared, running through an endless field of empty tents, broken-down rides, and abandoned game huts. The whole place had a horrible look to it. Everything was black and white. The prized stuffed animals all hung from nooses in the game huts, all with sick grins stitched onto their faces. It felt like a whole park was looking at me, even though there wasn't another living thing in sight. Then suddenly I began to hear music play. The sounds of Pop Goes the Weasel being played on a squeeze box echoed through the park. It was hypnotizing. I followed its tune to the circus tent almost in a trance, unable to stop my legs from moving forward. It was pitch black. The only light came from a single spotlight shining on the center of the big top. As I walked towards the light, the music slowed down. I found myself singing along, unable to stop. All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought 'twas all in fun. The music stopped right before its climax, and suddenly the lights shot on. The intensity of the lights was practically blinding. All I could see was a small, dark silhouette shuffled towards me. Then another one appeared, and another, and another. There were dozens of them, all coming towards me. I couldn't move, my legs were frozen. All I could do was watch as the haunting figures drew nearer. As I got closer, I could see they were children. As I looked at each one, I noticed they were all horribly disfigured and mutilated. Some had cuts all over their body, others were severely burnt, and others were missing limbs, even eyes. The children enveloped me, clawing at my flesh, dragging me to the ground, and tearing inside me. As the children tore me apart and I faded away, all I could hear was laughter. Horrible, awful, evil laughter. I woke up the next morning in a cold sweat. After taking a few deep breaths, I looked over and saw that a few of James's action figures were positioned facing me on top of my nightstand. I sighed. James had probably woken up early and put these here. I gathered up the toys and made my way to James's room. However, when I opened the door, James was sound asleep. I just shrugged and placed the toys back into his toy box and headed out to the living room. A little while later, James woke up and I made his breakfast. He was quiet and seemed a bit groggy. Perhaps he didn't sleep well either. I decided to ask him about the toys. "James, honey, did you put the toys in Mommy's room this morning?" His eyes shot up at me for a moment, then quickly glanced back down at his cereal. Laughing Jack did it. I rolled my eyes and responded, "Well, you tell Laughing Jack to keep the toys in your room." James nodded and finished up his breakfast, then decided to go play out in the backyard. I went to relax in the room and must have dozed off because I woke up a couple of hours later. Shit, I need to check on James. I was a bit worried. It had been over 2 hours and I hadn't checked on him. I stepped into the backyard, but James wasn't there anymore. I was getting nervous, so I called out to him, "James, James, where are you?" And then I heard a giggle come from the front yard. I rushed through the gate, around to the front of the house. James was sitting on the sidewalk. I breathed a sigh of relief and walked over to him. "James, honey, how many times do I have to tell you to stay in the backyard?" "James, what are you eating?" James looked up at me, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of hard candies in all colors. This made me nervous. James, who gave you that candy? James just stared at me, not speaking. James, please, tell Mommy where you got the candy. James hung his head down and said, Laughing Jack gave it to me. My heart sunk. I kneeled down to look him in the eye. James, I've had enough of this damn Laughing Jack thing. He is not real. No, this is a very serious situation, and I need to know who gave you the candy. I could see my son's eyes tear up. But Mama, Laughing Jack did give me the candy. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. James has never lied to me, but what he's telling me is impossible. I could make him spit out the candy, and I could throw the rest away. James appears fine. Maybe I'm just overreacting. After all, he could have gotten it from Tom and Linda next door, or Mr. Walker down the street. Either way, I'm going to have to keep a closer eye on James. That night, I put James to bed as usual, and decided to go to bed early myself. Suddenly, I was woken up by a loud bang coming from the kitchen. I sprung out of bed and hurried down the stairs. When I got to the kitchen, I was horrified. Everything on the counters had been thrown on the floor, and our dog Fido hung dead from the light fixture. His stomach was cut open and stuffed with candy, the same type that James was eating earlier in the day. My shock was quickly broken by a sharp scream coming from James's room, followed by loud crashes. I quickly grabbed a knife from the drawer and moved up the stairs with the speed that only a mother whose child is in danger could have. I burst through the door and flicked on the lights. Everything in the room was knocked over and tossed on the floor, my poor son in his bed crying and shaking with fear, a pool of urine staining the sheets. I scooped up my child and ran out of the house and went next door to Tom and Linda's house. Luckily, they were still awake. They let me use their phone and I called the police. It didn't take long for them to arrive and I explained what happened. They looked at me as if I were crazy. They searched the house, but all they found was a dead dog and 2 trashed rooms. The officer told me that someone had probably gotten into the house and done this right before making a quick escape when they heard me coming up the stairs. I knew it wasn't true. All the doors were locked and none of the windows were open. Whatever was in my house didn't come from outside. The next day, James stayed inside. I didn't want him to leave my sight. I went to the garage and found his old baby monitor and set it up in his room. If anything comes in tonight, I was going to be able to hear it. I went to the kitchen and grabbed the largest knife from the drawer and put it on my nightstand. Imaginary friend or not, I'm not letting anything hurt my little boy. Soon enough, night came. I put James to bed. He was afraid, but I promised him that I wasn't going to let anything happen to him. I tucked him in, gave him a kiss, and turned on the nightlight. Before closing the door, I whispered to him, "Good night, James. I love you." I tried to stay up as long as I could, but after a few hours I felt myself drifting off. My baby would be safe for the night, and I needed to sleep. Just as I lay my head on the pillow, I heard a soft noise come from the baby monitor I had put on my nightstand. At first, it sounded like interference, like the kind a radio would make. Then it turned into a soft moan. Was James asleep? Then I heard it. The laugh from my nightmare. That horrible laugh. I sprang up from the bed and grabbed the knife from under my pillow. I rushed over to James's room and creaked the door open. I tried the light switch, but it wouldn't come on. I took a step in and I could feel warm, thick liquid on my feet. Suddenly, James' nightlight came on, and I could see the absolute horror laid out in front of me. James's body was nailed up on the wall, the nails piercing through his hands and feet. His chest was cut wide open, and his organs hung down to the floor. His eyes and tongue had been removed along with most of his teeth. I was disgusted. I could hardly believe that this was my baby boy. Then I heard it again. The soft, desperate moan. James was still alive. My baby, my poor baby, in so much pain, barely clinging to life. I ran across the room and vomited on the floor, but my sickness was interrupted by a horrible cackling coming from behind me. I spun around while still wiping bile from my mouth. Then out of the shadows emerged the fiend responsible for all of this horror, Laughing Jack. His ghost white skin and matted black hair hung down to his shoulders. He had piercing white eyes surrounded by dark black rings. His twisted smile revealed a row of sharp, jagged teeth, and his skin didn't look like skin at all. It almost looked like rubber or plastic. He wore a patchy black and white clown outfit with striped sleeves and socks. His body itself was grotesque, his long arms hanging down past his waist, and the way he poised himself made him look almost boneless, like a rag doll. He let out a sickening laugh, as if to let me know he was pleased with my reaction to his work. He then turned around slowly in front of James and began to laugh even more at the horrific sight he has laid out. There was enough to shake me from my terror. That was enough to shake me from my terror. I snapped, "Get away from him, you bastard!" I rushed at the monster, raising my knife above my head and stabbed down at him, but as soon as the knife touched him, he disappeared in a cloud of black smoke. The knife passed right through and pierced James' still beating heart, splashed the warm blood on my face. No, what have I done? My baby! I killed my baby! I immediately fell to my knees and I could hear sirens in the distance growing louder. My boy, my sweet baby boy. I promised Mommy would protect you, but I failed. I'm sorry, James. I'm so sorry. Police soon arrived to find me in front of my son, still wielding the knife covered in my baby's blood. The trial was short. Insanity. I was placed in the Ferropolis house for the criminally insane, where I had been for the past 2 months. It's not so bad here. The only reason I'm awake now is because someone is playing Pop Goes the Weasel outside my window. I'll talk to the orderlies about it in the morning. An interesting creepypasta overall. I think for a game made from a creepypasta, this is fine. There's a lot of child death that happens in this that's pretty visceral, so I can see why the developers would choose not to make it one-to-one. However, I think the creepypasta itself has a stronger narrative when you do have a more of a meandering beginning with the toys hung from the little, like, game shop windows or whatever. That would be stronger than just having eyes in there. I think wandering through a broken down circus would be much more engaging than what we have here with the playground. I think on its own, the game is solid, maybe like a 6 out of 10. I think if we are considering the creepypasta, like the original creepypasta in comparison to what we have in the game, yeah, some stuff is just missing that feels like it would be a much stronger experience if it had been included. For instance, toys hanging from little Game Hut windows, not necessarily the bodies of children, but maybe just shadowed figures also hanging around, some with legs, some without, and they could look small like child, but not just be super grotesque and detailed like it is in the story. I definitely prefer the game's version of how the evening goes when it comes to not including the death of the dog, not including the body of the child, and rather ending with your own death. I think it is a stronger ending and it's much less silly and cliche than the creepypasta. I would love to know your guys' thoughts and feelings. Yeah, I like the game overall, but I feel like the build up to the end could have been stronger. I would have probably made the game about 5 minutes longer through naturally kind of wandering and having spooky stuff happen as you wander through the dream sequences, basically. I think translating creepypasta can be really hard, but this is a good effort, and I can definitely say that I like some of the stuff from the game versus the creepypasta way more. So some good decisions were definitely made. Alright, that's all I have. If you want to play the game yourself, if you want to leave any comments for the developers, the itch.io link is down below. Otherwise, let me know what you feel here in the YouTube comments. Would love to know. I would love to know if you've read the creepypasta, if you've played the game, how you feel about both of them. Alright, that's it for this video. Bye bye for now. See you in the next one.